4-pound Seaguar Invizx. .25 kilogram. 6-pound Cigar Red Label. .6 kilogram. Cigar Finesse 8.4 pounds. .75 kilogram. Alright, let's start with the Cigar Red Label. By the way, I apologize in advance if you hear my kids in the background, but I don't have a basement and I don't have anywhere to record this video, and they don't want to sleep in the afternoon anymore. So it is what it is, it shouldn't be a big deal. But the Cigar Red Label is actually the line that I have used the longest of the three I'm gonna show you today. It is the cheapest of the three lines, and unfortunately it always breaks a little bit before the advertised breaking strength, but not much, and it's not a big deal, and I actually never had any issue with the durability of this line. So the breaking strength is actually absolutely not one of my complaints about this line. This is the stiffest of the three lines, and for that reason, if you need a main line for a spinning rod, this would be the worst choice of these three lines in particular. I mean, you're still gonna cast, especially if you have regular guides. I used it as a main line. I mean, I caught a lot of fish with this line. But if you have micro guides, I don't recommend this line for micro guides on a spinning rod as a main line, because it is so stiff. But because it is so stiff, of the three lines, I actually like this line the most as a leader, because the stiffness helps against kinks and tangles, and I just hate kinks and tangles in my rigs. That's why I really like this line for tying drop shot rigs that I'm using for perch fishing right now. This is what I've been using the most. It's a 6-pound 0.20. So yeah, I don't recommend it for mainline, but because it's cheap and stiff, really good, and invisible, really good leader material. Okay, this is the Cigar Invizx, and I have used this line a lot as well, both as mainline and as leader. And this is a more expensive line than the Red Label, but you also saw on the test that it breaks well above the advertised breaking strength. So this is really the strongest feature of this line. Now this line is softer than the Red Label and obviously much stronger per same diameter than the Red Label. But I used it on this reel, Daiwa Tattooer here, as a main line for white bass, and I'm not someone who cares about sensitivity that much. I mean, I notice it, I like sensitivity, but it's not the end of the day for me. And this is also another 4-pound main line. This is polyester on another reel that I also used for white bass. This is a 4-pound, I'm gonna review this line separately, but this is a 4-pound polyester line, Narva Rivers. And just fishing these two lines back to back for white bass, the difference in sensitivity was just too much. It was too much and it became unpleasant, and I kind of abandoned this line as a main line in any application that would require sensitivity, where I need sensitivity. But if you are a bass angler who is just casting crankbaits and you don't want those ugly knots from braid to fluorocarbon where you have to hear them on every cast and you wonder if they are destroying your guides, this would probably be a good application for fishing crankbaits. The other thing is these treble hooks, you need a line that has some give so they don't come out of the fish. So I think that would be a good application for this line because, again, excellent breaking strength, and if you don't need the sensitivity, the line would be good. It does make an excellent leader as long as you don't need a long leader. Some people put like 6, 8, 10 foot leader. I don't recommend this because you're gonna lose a lot of sensitivity. For drop shot, I don't know, I like this one, the Red Label, the most for drop shot just because of the stiffness of the 3 lines. Even though it's cheaper, for drop shot I recommend this. The Seager Finesse is the most expensive of the 3 lines, but in my opinion it does feel like the most expensive of the 3 lines. It breaks exactly at the advertised strength, so it doesn't break above the advertised strength like the Cigar Invizx, but it is much softer than the Invizx, and it's also even more softer to even greater extent than the Red Label. So if you need a main line for a spinning rod, this would be easily the best choice of the 3. Again, it's very expensive, but if you're a tournament angler or you can afford it, I'm just saying this would make the best main line. Also, even for bass guys with casting rods, if you don't want to tie leaders and hear these knots just straight up fluorocarbon, this would make an amazing main line where you don't need leaders also. It just casts really nice because it is so soft. Now, because it is so soft, I actually don't like it for leaders because it is very strong. It doesn't stretch as much as the Invizx, and it is more sensitive than the Invizx. I actually don't know if it's more sensitive than the cheap Red Label, because the Red Label is very stiff and pretty sensitive. I would probably say the 2 lines are just as sensitive, and both of them are more sensitive than the Invizx. But this one has lower stretch than the Invizx, and it's softer, so it casts better. But as far as leader material, if you need stiffness to, fight against kinks and tangles, this is not a good leader for you. For drop shots, I don't like this. I mean, it's gonna work. Everything is gonna work. Mono will work for drop shots, but comparatively speaking, okay, both the Invizx and the Red Label will make a better drop shot leader material. Especially the Red Label is easier, the best of the 3 lines for drop shot leader material. If you need a very long leader for these applications, braid to fluorocarbon, and then you're throwing a crankbait or whatever, so you're not really concerned about tangles because it's not a drop shot rig, you just pulling a crankbait, and you need a long leader, then this would be actually the best leader of the 3 lines because it is soft, it will cast better, and you're not gonna lose as much sensitivity as you would with the Invizx. Really a good line, just the the biggest downside to this line is that it is very expensive. The last thing that I want to add before I end this video is a warning not to buy the 1000 yard spools, because Seaguar is playing some funny game with these 1000 yard spools. The Red Label, for example, if you buy 6-pound Red Label in a 300 yard spool, it is 0.18 millimeter in diameter. But when you buy it in a 1000 yard spool, it's 0.20 millimeter. Well, that's not the same line. I bought the 300 yard and I thought I was buying the same line when I'm buying the 1000 yard. But this is not the same line. This line is thicker with the same strength. This is objectively an inferior line to what you would buy if you buy 6-pound Red Label in a 300 yard spool. So I don't like and I don't approve of this kind of games, and 2 thumbs down for this kind of games that they're playing with this spool here. Please use the same line that you sell in the 300 yard spool. The Invizx, this is a different kind of game here. If you look at this spool here, this is not a line that is spooled by the factory in Japan. Because look at how the coils are. The coils are like this. The coils are not parallel to each other. Look at this spool, I believe, was spooled by the factory in Japan. Look how the coils are just perfectly straight and just parallel to each other. You can tell the difference, right? And you know how nice the line feels when you first take it off the spool. It's just perfectly straight. They give you spools with larger diameter on purpose. The line is just super straight, super nice. The line on this spool was not spooled by the factory. I think what Seaguar did, or whoever is selling this line in United States, they buy it from Seaguar Japan in bulk, in some spools of, I don't know, probably 100 miles or 50 miles or whatever. Then they buy the plastic spools, then they buy the labels. So they get a plastic spool, they slap a label on the spool, and then they re-spool original Seaguar line onto this spool. This is why it looks like this, okay? You can tell this was not spooled like this, okay? This was not spooled by the factory in Japan. And when you take off the line is not straight. The line is not straight like this line here, even though this is a cheaper line, but it's straight because it was spooled by the factory. So anyway, if you found this video useful, don't be lazy and give it a like before you go. But that's all I have for this one. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.